everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cubbing with Chrissy. Thank you so much for joining me yet again. And today I am going to share with you guys my personal birth story. So sit tight, grab some popcorn. We're about to get into it. So, number one reason why I decided to have a birth outside of the hospital. Well, for one, I have had a lot of people telling me you should go to a hospital. That's, the safest way. You'll have medical assistance if something goes wrong. And I thank everyone that gave me that advice. I know it was coming from a very good place of concern and love, but I wanted to do things my way. And my way was the natural way. So I started researching different birth centers in Atlanta. I found Atlanta Birth Center, and they were just everything, you guys. Like, I love Atlanta Birth Center and everybody that works there, from the front office staff to the nurses to the midwives. Everybody there was just so sweet, so kind. Very informative. Any question I had, they were able to answer it, and then some. They could direct me to resources if they didn't have whatever I was asking for at the actual birth center. And they were just, that you can tell they love what they did, and that they had a passion for it. It showed. I honestly call the Atlanta Birth Center the Disney World for pregnant women, because that's literally how it feels. They're so pleasant and so inviting. And that was my experience from my first prenatal appointment to my postnatal appointment with my baby girl after it was all said and done. So yes, shout out to Atlanta Birth Center. You guys are heaven sent. So the day of, you guys, the whole thing, honestly, is a blur to me. And I don't know if it's because things were moving so fast. I don't know if it was because I was in pain and I was trying to block out the pain by thinking of other things. And so I don't know. But I'm going to try to recap as best as I can for you guys. So I do remember that my contractions started while I was sleeping. They started at around 1:30, 2 o'clock that morning on August 12th. And I felt it in my sleep. Like, I felt like a turning, like a lower stomach pain. Nothing that I couldn't, I don't want to say sleep through, because I couldn't sleep through it, but nothing that I couldn't handle. It was still manageable, and they were coming like every 45 minutes to an hour. So I didn't panic. I didn't think that I was close to giving birth or anything. I was just like, oh, this might be the day, because I'm feeling this like every 45 minutes or so. But when I woke up, they went away. So I was like, maybe it was just a false alarm. I don't know. So by that time, my mom was with me, and we had a to-do list. We had a few places that we needed to go to. We needed to go to the grocery store, I think, TJ Maxx, Target. I forgot. I definitely don't remember now, but it was like 4 or 5 places that we had set out to go to that day. And we only made it to Kroger. So when we got to Kroger, you guys, like, as soon as I walked in and the door slid open, I had a contraction right then and there. And I was like, okay, haven't felt that since early this morning, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So I didn't think much of it. 5 minutes later, another one comes. And subsequently, one started to come every 5 minutes. It literally came on every aisle we went on. I was like, ugh, let's stop. Give me a second. And then we would, go on about our way. By the time we got to the produce section, I was done. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And it was noticeable. Like, people could probably tell something was wrong or that I was about to go into labor soon, because I was holding on to the fruit. I was holding on and just like moaning, and yeah, it was time to go home. And my mom was like, yeah, I know we're not making it to any other place today. Let's get you home. So we made it to the cash register. We paid for the items, so that was good. It wasn't a trip in vain. But when we got home, the contractions didn't let up. I remember sitting in the living room in the chair, and I just couldn't talk. When you know it's getting real, when you can't talk through the contractions, that's when I knew. I said, oh, this baby is coming today. And my mom and husband, they knew too. They were like, oh yeah, she can't talk. So it must be pretty bad. So then I said, oh, let me try something that I saw on other YouTube videos with other mamas that had natural births. Let me get in the tub, which did help. It did help for a little bit, but maybe not even 10 minutes into my bath, my mom came in and reminded me that this was also the same weekend that Beyonce was performing. And if any of you have even traveled to Atlanta before, you don't have to live here to know how bad the traffic is on a regular day. So can you imagine how bad traffic was on a Saturday night going to a Beyonce concert in Atlanta, or going through that same route that it takes to get to wherever she was performing, either State Farm or Mercedes-Benz, one of those arenas. But yeah, when she said that, I was like, oh my goodness. Now I had called my midwife prior to, just to let her know how close my contractions were, but I don't think either of us had taken into account that this was a heavy traffic weekend and that I probably needed to go ahead and start packing my stuff. But yeah, as soon as my mom said that, I was like, you're right. Let's go ahead and pack up the car. I told Rich to get my mommy bag. It's time to go. It's the big finale. So it was me, my husband, my mom, and my bonus baby, and we were all in the car. I was just in the back seat trying to keep it together. But if I really let out the sounds that I wanted to let out during that car ride, everybody would have been concerned at the very least. I was just trying to handle them the best way I could, and that was in silence. But the moment we got to the actual birth center and I stepped into the birth center, not when I stepped out the car, but when I made it into the birth center, I don't know what happened, but it was like my body knew that I was home free. Like I was at my destination where baby was gonna come. And it was a contraction out of this world. I remember leaning on not a nightstand looking thing, but some type of stand that they have right there at the door, probably like a foyer table or something. But I leaned on that foyer table, it seemed like forever, and I could not get myself together. It was just, it was bad. That's all I know. It was bad. And little did I know, from that point on, those contractions were only going to get worse. I thought I had seen something. I hadn't seen nothing yet. They just kept getting worse and worse. So at that point, the midwife brought me into the triage room, and that was the area where they were supposed to be monitoring both baby's heartbeat and they were supposed to monitor both of our heart rates and also see how far my contractions actually were. And that is when they noticed that Journey's heart rate was slowing down tremendously during my contractions, so much so that they told me maybe 30 minutes into me having contractions that they were going to have to transfer me to a hospital. And that hospital was not Northside, which for those that live in Atlanta, y'all know Northside is like the number one. If you're going to have a hospital birth, you want it to be at Northside. Y'all, they tried to transfer me to Grady. When I heard Grady, two things happened. Mentally, I panicked, and my body, I feel like, got the message so quick from my brain to say, we have to do whatever is necessary to get this baby out here, because we are not going to make it to Grady because this pain is so great. They're gonna have to straitjacket me or something to get me. I mean, I was a mess, y'all. I was knocking things over. It was so bad. I have never felt pain like that in my life. And I am not saying this to scare anyone from having a natural birth, but it is, I'm not gonna lie to you, it is a pain like no other. I have never gone through anything, and there's nothing to compare it to. Like, I can't even give a comparison that would do it any justice, I feel like. But I do know that every time I had a contraction, I would bend over, and my husband kept saying, don't bend over, because he was noticing that on the machine that would track the heart rate, when I stood up and had the contraction, even if I was in a lot of pain, baby's heart rate did not dip, but every time I bent over, it did. So the last few contractions I had, I just tried my best to stand up, and even though I knew I wasn't supposed to, I started pushing, y'all. And I was not at all where I needed to be to start pushing. That is a big no-no. For anyone that is listening to this video, I highly do not recommend you to start pushing before your doctor, midwife, medical provider tells you to. But again, like I said, I panicked, and it's all I knew to do at that point. I was at a pelvic station 0, I believe. So baby wasn't even in the birthing canal yet, and I was 80% effaced. So yeah, I wasn't ready, but at the same time, I was like, I have to get her out now. And honestly, I don't know what would have happened. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't go ahead and start pushing at that time, because of how long her heart rate was slowing down. I think they actually said that she was going 2 minutes with a very low heart rate. So basically, as long as the contraction lasted, that's how long her heart rate had slowed. So y'all, it was a lot. It was a lot. So I told you guys it's like a blur, but what I do remember is my husband leaving the room, and I think that was when he was breaking the news to my mom that they were going to have to transfer me to a hospital. And of course, she started panicking. She's calling my dad, you know, telling him what they're going to have to do. She's scared because she's not in the building yet, because granted, we're not even in the birthing suite. We haven't made it out the triage room. Family can come in once you have moved to the triage room into your birthing suite. So once he left, I don't know if that's when God just spoke to me, because at that moment, like I said, that's when I started pushing without being told. And I do remember yelling out Jesus. And the moment I yelled out Jesus, whew, goodness gracious, this is all coming back to me now. The moment I yelled out Jesus is the moment that she started crowning. And I had been pushing that entire time, but when I said his name, the baby started crowning. I saw EMS behind me with the stretcher that they were going to carry me out in, and the midwife told him, cancel that, this baby's coming right now. Y'all, they asked me, can you push? Can you get on the table and start pushing? I'm like, little do y'all know I've been pushing. But I said, yes, let's go. Let's go. And so by that time, my husband had come back in the room. I had his hand to hold, and I just started pushing, and we got there. We got to the birthing center at 8:15, around 8:15 or so. The baby was out at 9:06. Journey was born at 9:06 p.m. on August 12th. And I want to say I started pushing at around 9 o'clock. So this was so fast, like, and that's part of the reason why it probably is a blur to me, because everything happened so fast and the pain was so great that I had to block a lot of things out to just do it. But yeah, it was crazy. And to think how I imagined my birth to be, this was in no way, shape, or form what I thought. I had a playlist ready. Granted, I was supposed to have a water birth. I was supposed to be in the birthing pool. I had all of it. I had candles. I had my speaker. I mean, I was so prepared, and nothing went as planned. I thought it was going to be, dimly lit, kumbaya vibe. No, it was in the triage room. She was born in the triage room. But it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And I was able to carry my baby from the triage room, standing up, carry her to the next room, have that golden hour with her, just me and her, just skin to skin, just loving on my baby, hearing her cry for the first time. It was just, oh gosh, such a beautiful moment. Beautiful moments. We spent the night there, and when you have a natural birth there, I believe you are only required to stay 4 hours, but because of everything that transpired and her heart rate dropping the way it did, that they just wanted to monitor both me and her for a little bit longer. So I believe that 4 hours turned into 12 hours, and we were able to leave at around 9 or 10 that morning and take her home. But y'all, whew, that was something else. And I really didn't know the magnitude or the extent of how much of a close call it was, or how serious it was during that time. And of course, the nurses and the midwives, they're not going to tell the mom, if things are not looking good. I mean, I know they weren't looking good if that is a last resort. A hospital transfer is a last resort. So I knew that things were serious, but I just didn't fully understand it then. I didn't understand it fully until my postnatal visit. The one that was just for me. So there's one that's, I believe, the next day, and you come back with your baby. And then there's another one that's 6 weeks after, and they're checking on just the mom. So like physically, how are you healing? How's your mental state? Any signs of postpartum depression, or is it just baby blues? Just checking on mom. But that 6-week appointment is when I saw Kat. My midwife's name was Kat. Both of my midwives that helped me, their names were Kat. One was with a C, one was with a K. But Kat with a K was the one that was actually there that night and delivered, or helped deliver Journey. And at first, because I know there's like a bunch of me and there's only one her for me, so she didn't remember me at first. But as we kept talking, I could tell that the wheels were turning. Like I could see I could just see that she started to remember the entire night and what happened. And she just looked at me and she stopped her spiel, like whatever she was saying before. And she was just like, oh my God, yes, I was there. I remember that night. She said, you didn't know it, but our whole team gathered together and we hugged. We were hugging and crying outside of your room because what you didn't know is that it was not looking good at all for baby. I didn't realize it, but Journey didn't even cry for the first, I believe, 30 seconds. But I was just so excited and happy to have her out that I didn't even realize that she wasn't crying. And she said that they did have to, jiggle her a little bit. Now I'm remembering the wake up baby. But at the time I didn't realize they were doing that because she was blue. She was blue. She had not gotten enough oxygen. She was going too long. Those intervals were too long for her. She wasn't taking my contractions well at all. And when she told me that and she said, you really were a close call, and we all knew it, but none of us could tell you that then. And it still wasn't an appropriate time, the morning after. But yeah, she was like, you have a miracle baby on your hands. And I cried in the room. I cried on the way home, you guys. And Journey is already a rainbow baby, and so this was, if that had happened, gosh, I don't even want to think about what could have happened. But just to know that God allowed her to come, and really push through the circumstances. It's such a blessing, and I couldn't be any more thankful. And when I think back to times like those, and I just think about how blessed I am that she's even here, all of the other things that I gripe about, it doesn't even matter. Yes, most days I feel like a zombie. I feel like I'm super sleep deprived. I'm dehydrated. I feel like I'm weak because I'm not getting enough food in me while breastfeeding, because I'm trying to work and I'm working these 10-hour shifts. But it's like, whatever. This is temporary. And to know that all of this is just prepping and helping develop this beautiful baby girl into the healthy, strong human being that she's going to be. That she already is. It's just it's amazing. It really is. Whew, that was a lot. But thank you guys so much for tuning in yet again. I'm always eager to learn about other mamas' birth stories. And if you had any similarities to mine, please drop it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next episode of Covering with Chrissy. Bye, you guys.